Hi, DOBC. Yeah. Concord. Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
We are going to talk today open source.
Very exciting.
Presumably, open sources, if you don't,
Raise your
please
hand.
let us know.
Raise your hand right now.
Because if you don't know what we're going to talk about today. So, in short, open source idea that you should, your code, you can release your code for free for anyone to use, to modify, to include in their own projects. And there's a lot of open source projects. In fact, I'm sure that all of you use open source software without knowing about it. But open source software is built on that. And so today we're going to teach you the basics of how to get started contributing to open source. It might seem really daunting because you're going to be playing with the big boys, but relax, it's all okay. We're going to teach you how, and people generally in the open source community are very kind and very accepting of new people, or if they're not, they'll tell you where to go. Because everyone was at one point new to the open source community. Everyone was, new to programming. And without further ado,
You were very inconvincing. It's all gonna be okay.
okay, go
Just
ahead.
saying.
Okay, so there's a guy named Carlos Jensen. He kind of works with the open source lab pretty frequently. He's a really cool
He also
individual. He also runs tasks.
DOBC.
Yeah.
So there are these organizations on campus for writing software in general. The open
Carlos
source,
is in charge of one of them.
Carlos is in charge of them.
One of them.
Here.
Yeah. Anyway, he teaches a class called CS 419, which 419 tends to be like elective-y topics like cryptography and graphic design. And he does one called open source software, which basically is a much longer and more nuanced version of this class. It goes more into the economy of open source and the ideals behind it, and why it's awesome, etc. These are also some related books if you're into the book reading kind of thing. So that's if you look at these slides and like, oh my god, that's so awesome! I so want to do more of that. You might consider looking at one of his classes and if you can sign up. So one thing you might ask is, why should I get involved? Why should I bother spending my time making this free code for everyone to use when I could be getting paid for it? And these are all excellent questions. However, there are many excellent reasons to get involved with open source and start sharing your code. Among them are, you can learn a lot of new things. So if there's a new technology that you want to learn, like Node.js, you can find a project that is written using Node.js or with Node.js, and that can sometimes be a really great way to learn a new tool. Because then you have an application for that thing, you know what it's used for, you can ask people for help who actually already know how to use it, the people who are making whatever project that you're contributing to. So it's one really great way to learn a new thing and kind of add to your skill set. Another thing that was kind of mentioned was meeting really cool people like us. Obviously really cool as ever. And there's hundreds of thousands of more people who are equally as open-minded and welcoming and nice and inviting. And it can really help you grow as a programmer and kind of inspire you even. Yeah. Go for it.
Another thing to consider is we are all in college, and we are in college to get jobs eventually, right? I think that's the majority of our opinions. We want to get jobs or stay in academia forever. Either way, if you contribute to open source technologies and projects, that's just out there for the world to see. And it's really easy to put on a resume, like, I contributed to this project, and I can actually go and see exactly how good your chops are. And your chops are amazing because you're great DevOps. So I know everyone here has put on the resume, I contributed to this project, I contributed to this project. And it looks really good. Employers are really impressed when you have taken the initiative and done something just for the sake of doing it. So it's sort of like volunteer work with code.
Another thing to keep in mind is that even though open source code is free, you can get paid to write it. For instance, we all write open source code and get paid to do so, which is pretty awesome. So it's not saying that like you will always get paid for every line of code that you write, but it is saying like don't think that there's no like future opportunities there for you, or that it's like all there's no economy there.
Right, there's tons of open source projects that make tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of money through different monetary models. It's a whole thing, you can look it up. But yeah, just because it's open source, just because it's free, doesn't mean there isn't money involved. So,
and also doesn't mean that they
It
won't
doesn't
hire
exactly.
you if you do a really good job contributing. So you can also kind of think of it as a job interview almost. Like if you find a project that you're super psyched about, submitting a pull request is one of the best things you can do to kind of make yourself noticeable to that company. And then if you do interview, you can say like, oh, by the way, I fixed this bug that you guys are having or whatever. So.
and in the interview process, that's basically you saying, I'm not incompetent, I know how to do things. Which, sorry, that's a little rash, but like, that's essentially what you're saying is, I know how, I know what your workflow looks like, I know how to, submit, and then when you come on, they'll just be like, great, already know what you're doing. So they're really into that because it's less training.
Not only do I know how to do things, I've already done things for you.
Right, yeah, you're not just saying things, you've actually done it and you've taken initiative and you have shown that you care about the project, which is really useful and really key.
Yeah. Can we go back?
Oh,
Sorry, there was
sorry.
this one more. I know, I'm sorry. We think that contributing is like the best thing ever. So there's so many great reasons to do it. But one that I really want to highlight is giving back to the community. And if you guys are still maybe young or maybe not even that young anymore, computer science lives, but like I feel like I personally have gotten a lot from open source, like between GitHub and all the things that I've learned, like just looking at code to learn how it works, like that has helped me improve a lot, and trying to give back to that community, I think it's really fulfilling in a way. So.
And we'll get to this later, but if you use a tool that you like and you're passionate about, consider contributing to that project. Sometimes it sounds really daunting, but for instance, this is a hypothetical example. I use Flask all the time, which is a Python micro framework. We talked about it earlier, for making web applications. And if I really wanted to, I would probably look on their webpage and look at their Git repo and find a bug and say, I can probably tackle that and make a patch and submit. Because if you're passionate about it, it makes it easier to contribute code. And it's also just, you have an even stronger connection to this thing that you use all the time.
All right, next slide.
So, like you said, what is that gift?
Okay, sorry.
It's scratching an itch.
Okay, good.
Like you said, one of the
It's just
easiest
cute,
ways to
actually.
get involved with an open source project is something you already use. Odds are you know about a bug in a piece of software that you already use. I mean, there's all sorts of bugs, but there might be something. Maybe it's not even a bug. Maybe it just could be, this could be so much better if I didn't have to click over here, or didn't have to open this dialog, or if this command line tool I'm using had an extra argument which did X. Well, you know what you want, and you know this tool maybe a little bit, and so you can go ahead, find the source code for the tool, it's open source, figure out how it works, add your feature, and then give it back to the creator and say, can you please add this to like the real deal? So scratch an itch.
One example of that was you were contributing to a project and you realized they didn't have like a dash version
Oh yeah.
flag, and you were like, why don't we have this? This is like a feature in every piece of software ever with a command line interface.
Yeah, it was actually, you had to like open a Python repo and import like the project, import hieroglyph, and then run like hieroglyph.get version or something.
Right, which is ridiculous. You shouldn't have to do that. So
Right.
you were just like, I'm just gonna add this feature, make a pull request, and then they were like,
And I learned a lot. I did not know about command line arguments in Python, so that
so anyway,
was,
and now it's in production, right?
Yeah.
I was just curious about, because I was just watching this documentary about like the 3D printer technology and MakerBot and all that.
Yeah.
And they basically started off as open source, and then they kind of like reached a certain level, and then they they're like, never mind, we're not open source anymore,
I've been trying to about this. I've been
I was just wondering how the legality of, like, what's to stop you from doing all this work and then somebody just says, okay, well, I'm gonna take all your work and make a company.
We're gonna talk a little bit later about licenses. And if your software is licensed in certain ways, sometimes like I release a lot of code with a license which says you could take this and make the company off of it. Or you could use another piece of, another license which says if you so much as breathe on this code, all of your code has to be open source. And so your license will defend your work, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Licensing is a big thing.
It's beautiful.
There's a lot to it.
And MakerBot was a pretty controversial thing. If like, I don't want to say it's uncommon because it's not, but it doesn't always happen like that. And I think that their decision.
So they made their thing
Yeah.
open source, and then they realized that everyone was cloning their thing, and instead of embracing that community, they said, we're just going to stop. They didn't un-open source. They just stopped open sourcing from that point on. Does that make sense? So they didn't say all that old stuff, now that's closed. They just said, from now on, we're just going to say everything new is going to be closed source, which gets into licensing. Basically, the new things had a different license from the old things.
Hey, what'd you know?
Hey, congratulations.
Speaking of which of us wants to
Yeah, sure.
tackle this?
So there's a variety of different open source licenses. There's a lot actually. Back in the 90s, people didn't know if like making your code open source was like legally defensible. Today we know that there are a bunch of licenses which will protect your work, like he's concerned about. So one of the most permissive licenses is the MIT license. The MIT license is very short, very simple.
Can you actually pull that one up?
Yeah,
Look up MIT license.
I was just gonna open choose a license.
Because MIT
'cause,
license is like a paragraph. It's super short.
Yeah, licenses can be like
Yeah.
paragraph long or 20 pages. It really depends. It's short, it's simple, it protects you, and it makes your work open source.
Oop.
It makes it so that you can found a company using that code, or someone else can just take that code and found a company and make a lot of money. That's not always the best. That's not always what you want. The BSD license is very similar. This is like the whole thing.
This is the MIT license. It basically says, do whatever you want. That's it. That's all it says.
Well, it protects you.
It protects you, and it says anything you do with my thing, I'm not liable for.
Right.
But you can do whatever you want.
Which is important, for example, in the case if you make like a GPS software.
Or
and-
security software.
Well, yeah, the canonical one, it's
Yeah.
like GPS software, and you don't have some kind of warranty clause, and then they use that software to do like a phone automatic, or car, like automatic car navigation, and then drive someone off a cliff.
Right.
If you don't put that clause there, then they could sue you potentially.
But the MIT license protects you against that. So
And
that's
this
one.
is a really cool website. On the side, it gives you
Oh.
basically a rundown of what it does.
And this was linked to from the slides. If you
It's
guys didn't-
chooselicense.com. If we could go back to the licenses so we can see, like, I can
Oh.
talk about them. Another one is the BSD license.
figure out
It's
how it
very
got
similar
here.
to the MIT license. There's the Apache license. If you run a company which open sources all of its code, you probably use the Apache license because an Apache license kind of tends to protect the company more. Now, if you're concerned about people like stealing your code, founding business, and not giving anything back to you, the license you want is called the GPL, General Public License, or GNU Public License. And it is not a copyright license, which like all rights reserved, I own this code, that's what a copyright license does. A copyleft license goes the other direction.
Very good.
Everything is free about this code, and if you include this code in your project, your code must also be available under the GPL license. And so there's a lot of areas, a lot of different types of licenses, a lot of different uses of them. And so when you're stuck and you're going, well, I don't know the difference, this license, chooselicense.com, is probably good for you. There's also this thing, if you want to make something open source, which isn't code, open source licenses protect code. They don't necessarily protect prose or pictures. So what you'll want is the Creative Commons. The Creative Commons is we took open source licensing and we applied it to things which are not software. And there are a variety of Creative Commons licenses. Some of them are take what I wrote. Others are, well, take what I wrote, but include my name and say that I wrote this. And so, yeah, chooselicense.com will help you find the right Creative Commons license or open source license for your
To summarize, there's a few different versions of Creative Commons. Some of them are more restrictive than others. So that's something to keep in mind. It doesn't just say, I made a thing, here you go. It's sort of like, I made a thing, here you go, but don't copy that. And none of these licenses are the best license. Keep that in mind. Each license has its own merits, and you should, based on what you want your project to be, decide on a license and just really investigate it. Also read your license before you use it.
Yeah, on that note, you can also combine certain licenses together to dual license.
I
Not
didn't
all
know that.
licenses are
Never heard of
compatible.
this.
What?
Yeah, I haven't heard of that either.
Yeah, you can dual license, sure.
You can say my code is available under the GPL listing in my case.
So-
And is it just whichever is most restrictive in a certain area will take
You
precedence?
can choose what you like.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And not all are compatible. Sometimes you can't combine certain.
Yeah.
One,
The
one-
lesser GPL, so the difference between the GPL and lesser GPL is lesser GPL allows you to dual license with the MIT license. The GPL does not.
There you go.
There's also a tool our friend Emily Gunn made called
oh, yeah.
was it like license your software or something? It's on her website. Essentially, you give it your GitHub username and it spits out every repo that doesn't have a license, which is a good way to encourage you to license your software. And GitHub is actually really good. Every time you make a new repo, it gives you like a little prompt for what license you want to use. And then GitHub also gives you tools for summarizing what each license is for, and it's positives and negatives. The reason we're pushing this
Oh,
is
she's
it's very
cooking.
important to license your code. Unlicensed code is useless. No one's going to use it. If that's what you want, go for it. But in the open source community, we try to give back. And if your software isn't licensed, it makes it very hard to give back. We'll link it in the IRC channel. And
Yeah.
Or make a bot that just crawls the entire GitHub. It just makes an issue on our on all the
Bottom
repos.
makes an issue, not a license. No license.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emily made one that just spits out all of your.
All
Wait, that's not fine.
crawl the whole site.
Oh.
That's really, this is something we should do. What if we just put a star?
If your if your code does not have a license, it is not open source. You may have the source on the internet for everyone to see, but not everyone may use it or contribute to it.
Oh yeah, don't say public domain. People might tell you to say public domain, don't say public, just give it a license. Give it a real license.
One other thing to keep in mind, don't write your own license.
Oh yeah,
It's tempting.
you are not a pretty snowflake.
Don't do it.
No one will want to use your code if you have your own unique license.
You can also get in legal trouble.
Yeah, also that. There's plenty of talks on the subject matter. There's also plenty of articles on pros and cons of each license. We encourage you to look for that and search out that knowledge. It's really cool. If you're into this, there are plenty of people that will hire you.
And talk your ear off about it, like us.
Yeah, we'll talk here about it.
It's easy. There's lots of choices, which may make it confusing, but if you just go to chooselicense.com and click, yeah, this is what I want, you'll be done in 5 minutes.
Also, we say there's lots of choices. The ones we listed are the big ones. Once you know those, you're like, okay, well, my project, I don't really care. People do whatever they want. I don't want people to be make me liable. Slap an MIT license on that. You're good. Or like, I want everything to be open source that touches this. Slap a GPL.
Okay,
Anyway,
moving on. Assessing a new community. So one thing to keep in mind when you're contributing is how welcoming are the people who you're contributing to? Are they easy to work with? Do they answer questions? Do they not get back to you for 2 or 3 months? These are all things to keep in mind. So one thing that can sometimes come up is elitism, or the idea of like, oh, you're new, like, you know, possibly have anything to contribute. Generally, like a good way to think about it is if you interact with someone either on GitHub or IRC in the context of contributing, and it's really unpleasant, you probably don't want to work with them anyway. Like, unless you really love this project or it's like only one person, like every project is going to have, a couple bad apples, but don't be afraid to just walk away, I guess is the takeaway that I'm kind of trying to get at. If you're not enjoying the experience, like you should enjoy contributing to people. And if it's not enjoyable, like just leave. Yeah.
We go on and on about these projects which are not enjoyable to contribute to. Such projects exist, but those are not most projects. Most projects make it really easy and are really accepting of your work.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing that
I know a lot of people can sometimes find helpful is the idea of lurking, like lurking on GitHub, lurking on IRC. It's actually something that I personally have never really found helpful. So I was a little wary to even leave it in the slide. But if you are feeling really uncomfortable and you find that just like hanging out somewhere will kind of make you feel a little more comfortable, that's definitely a thing to do. If you want to be a little bit more proactive, then some of the things that I really like to do are join IRC channels and look at issue trackers. So like one of the first things I do is just look through the issues and be like, which ones can I look at? Like, what do I know? What would be easy? Especially stuff where it's like, we should improve this documentation, like stuff where it's not even code-based. That for me is like a great entry point because it's like, oh, I can do that. And it's really easy. And then I'll know more about the project so I can contribute in other ways.
Yeah, you don't have to contribute code. I don't think we've harped on this enough. You can contribute documentation, just like a few paragraphs on here's how this software is used because it's not clear. Somebody wrote a paper, just a few sentences on it. That is incredibly helpful for a project. People will thank you if you write just a few words about how the project is used. And you'll probably learn more about, oh, I didn't know this code did this thing at all. So I wrote about it.
Emily, the person that made that tool where you enter your GitHub username, you get that, all the repos that are licenses. Whenever she goes to a new project, her get out of jail free or get out of
stupid questions.
Get out of stupid free card is stupid questions, card is she will use their software, and when she comes across a problem, she will investigate the documentation in places where the solution should be. And if the solution does not exist, she will contact them and say, hey, I tried to use your software, I tried to use this feature, and I couldn't figure out how. The documentation doesn't say. Could you tell me how? I'll write you some docs. And people love it when you write documentation for them because no one likes to write documentation, unless you do. I do. And people love like contributors and people telling them like, hey, this is broken. How do I fix it? So if it's a bug, that's good to know. And if it's just not documented, they'll tell you how to fix it if you write the doc. So it's also a good way to get into the community and to also see how welcoming they are. That's sort of where you get into the elitism problem, I guess, where if they say like, oh, you sure you know how to do that, then that's a good warning sign. Maybe don't use that community, maybe don't engage with them. But if they do say like, oh, thank you so much for telling us this is like totally not accessible.
Which is probably what's going to happen.
Probably what's going to happen.
9 out of 10 times.
That's like a really good sign. So keep that in mind. Asking stupid questions in the right way is like asking a really smart question. Not that there are stupid questions. There are no stupid questions. Except for the ones I say.
So how do we find a project?
There's lots of ways.
Use these links. They're on our website.
They're helpful links.
One really good way to start
Describe what each
is to
It's gonna
just find, so there's lots and lots of open source code on the internet. One way to sort it all is to say, I know Python, so I'm not going to be contributing to a Ruby project because I don't know Ruby. So you can just sort by language and choose only Python projects. That's a great initial way to choose open source code. What project you might be interested in contributing.
Reddit open source.
Huh?
Is Reddit open source?
No.
Reddit? Yes, it is.
Oh.
Yeah, totally.
Sick. Okay.
So there's a variety of websites which will help you, guide you through contributing and choosing a project. One of which is OpenHatch. OpenHatch is basically a nonprofit devoted to, we're going to teach you how to contribute to open source projects. And so if we're interested in bite-sized projects, we can just, and it'll just spit them out right here. And you can scroll down and say, man, it would be really great. Twisted is a Python thing. I know Python, or IPython sounds pretty cool.
I think we started by language.
You know, this could be a really neat thing for me to get into. And you just start, you look at the code, you look at the issues. We'll walk you through how to do this in a few minutes. Are we? Yeah. And now we're looking at the issue tracker, the bug.
From Twisted.
From Twisted, from this piece of software, which is written in Python, which is the language I know. And it's basically like, check to make sure that our documentation works, please. And it's fairly simple. That's probably going to take about half an hour, and you're going to get major kudos from these people. And then when you come by next time and you want to work on something more difficult, they're going to be really, they're really going to want to help you because you've kind of shown that, like, I'm interested in helping your project. There's a lot.
I actually know what Bugs Ahoy is.
There's a lot of them. Bugs Ahoy is the same thing, but for Mozilla projects. Did we?
We're getting there.
Okay. If I want to work on, graphics, this is just a really friendly interface for like working on Firefox's graphics engine, and it'll show you the bugs which are most interesting to you. And so it's just another tool to help you find projects. GitHub has a list of trending projects, the most popular projects today. They also have a list of really cool projects which may not be so popular, but maybe GitHub uses them. But those are also good places to look for open source projects to contribute to.
And these are just some things to keep in mind when you're looking for a project, which is basically what he just said. You know, low-hanging fruit, stuff that you're familiar with, projects you use, languages, all that stuff.
Pick something which interests you. I guarantee you there's something which interests you out there, or otherwise you probably wouldn't be here. That just, it might seem really complicated right now, but the way you get into the complicated stuff is just by starting with simple.
So something to consider, you know all those bugs, it's like those hundreds, thousands of bugs that we just looked at? Those don't just appear. Someone like finds them and makes them. So one thing to also consider, you should contribute, we encourage you to contribute. But if you find a bug, you investigate it, and don't feel really able to fix it, like, oh, I found a bug in some JavaScript program and I don't know JavaScript. Just making a bug is also a good way to engage with the community and just to say like, hey, I investigated this thing, I tried to solve it, I couldn't, here you go. And the community will also really enjoy that and really appreciate that because you're telling them something's broken and you would like to see a fix and you've been using their thing and you've been using it enough to find something that's broken, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Excellent point.
Really quickly, I want to say contributing is so satisfying. I don't think we can emphasize this enough. It feels really warm and fuzzy when people say, thank you, I have now included your code in the next major release. Whee! I did something, I helped the community. Yeah.
And you put on a contributor list.
Sometimes.
It can even go on your resume.
It should.
Yes. So this is something that I think we will go over in more detail, like the specific, here's how you actually get involved. But some basic steps, one is obviously finding a project. Again, it should be something that like you feel strongly about, something you preferably that you use or would like to know more about. Just something that you feel like you really have a personal connection with, just so that it's not like, oh yeah, I'm like contributing this project and it's okay, like, I guess. Like, you gotta be into it.
Sometimes though, you hear about a project, you hear about what it does, and you go, I've never used it, but it sounds awesome and there's an easy bug. I'm gonna go fix it.
Yes, story.
Another thing is that a lot of projects will have contributing documentation, and if they don't, hey, guess what your first pull request can be? But contributing docs are just a really straightforward step-by-step, like, hey, here's kind of like how we do things around here, just so that you don't, submit something that's really out of line without really like knowing it. And kind of here's like how you install stuff. Here's what your development environment looks like. So most projects are making it easy or trying to make it easy for you to come in and contribute.
One type of contribution which is extremely valued, but is direly needed, but not a lot of people do, is writing tests. Later on, we're going to teach you how to write good tests. And if you write a test for something which isn't tested, which might be critically a critical piece of code, people will really like you. And so writing a test is a great way to get started contributing to a project, because you learn what the code is expected to do, and you perform this absolutely critical function for the project. Yeah, so we're at DevOps Bootcamp. We've been talking about dev things all so far. A lot of times projects have complicated environments where they're actually run in production. There's like dev, where I run my project when I'm working on it, and there's production where the real thing runs. And nobody's just going to give you root access on the server and say, go fix this for me. That's not going to work. So, but don't despair. There are ways to fix problems in someone's configuration or someone's production server. A lot of configuration, a lot of the way which websites are set up and put together is stored in a public repository. Often it's managed using a configuration management tool. And we're going to teach you a whole list about configuration management next term.
Essentially, configuration management, we touched on that.
We are not really.
Okay, just so we're not like lost. That's just like a set of scripts that basically sets up your computer to be the way you want it to be. So you have like 10,000 servers and you all want them to be the same. You have this set of scripts that says all of these should look exactly like this set of scripts. And then it sets them up for you automatically, and
Life's good.
Life's good. You don't need to manually go through and set up 10, 20, 100, 1,000 servers, which is how it used to work. And that was painful. That was very painful. Cool.
All right.
Okay, the homework part. Oh, how exciting. Okay, so one thing that we really want you guys to come away with tonight is an idea for a project that you're pretty enthusiastic or excited about contributing to. So again, whether it's something that you use or just something where you're like, oh man, that sounds awesome, like a video game even, or it can be pretty much whatever. We kind of want you guys to like have an idea of something that you don't have to like write a contribution tonight or anything, but just something that like at some point in the future,
Spring break.
yeah, you'd maybe think about contributing to. So you can definitely, does everyone know where these slides are? Slides.o.
You don't know where the slides are. Okay.
Oh. Here, it's actually not on there.
Do you want me to write it down?
No, I will just.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember. So,
Just that guy.
is it this?
Close. If he'll direct you there.
So,
Mostly.
okay.
And then if you guys go back to this finding a project, that's probably a good starting point. If you really get stuck, just call one of us over, and we can help you find something that we think is kind of up your alley. And then if you find a project really quickly, then you can even find an issue in that project, which would be, I think, even better. And then I guess beyond that, you can just start contributing. But yeah, are there any questions?
Well, I could probably Google around to figure this out, but I was just wondering if you had a quick answer of how do you actually license something? Like, is there?
So you have a
Oh,
file.
Let me show.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you.
Is this code you own or is this someone else's code?
Well, I mean, just hypothetically, if I like,
So there's no like official organization that says they keep track of everything and it's licensed. Basically, you have a GitHub repo and then you have a file called license. And can you click on that? This basically just says this is the Apache license, and it just says, hey, all of the code in my repo, and it's like a legal thing. People recognize this. It says all my code under this in this repo follows these rules, and if you want to use it, you have to follow these rules too.
so is there something on GitHub where you can just like
Yeah.
insert a license?
When you create a repo, there's actually a set of licenses, and it just creates it for you. It just generates it. It generates a file called license in all caps. Can you actually create a repo right now?
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about that.
So it's for like creating a blank repo. Otherwise, GitHub has really good resources that they will help you generate the license file. So yeah, that's whatever. Initialize this repository with a README, why not? And down here, there's license, and it just has a bunch of different licenses.
So, yeah, that's what.
And then I'll just take that license, whatever it is, and just stick it in there. I'm actually
no license.
Yep. There you go. And now this test is licensed under
Oh, it's GPL.
GPL. So if you want to use that README file, you gotta open source everything. Yeah, I'm actually gonna contact the GitHub people and see if they can make it a little easier because they list all the licenses, but they don't give context to what each one is. I think a little like link right there.
Description.
Just a description, or I was thinking like a box.
Oh, I
A
like
box
that.
just has like a too long to read.
Yeah.
Anyway, off topic. So the goal for today is to find, each of you should find a project you want to contribute to, and then do some investigation before you leave, like see how easy it would be to send them code, maybe join their IRC channels. Is anyone here not on IRC? Raise your hand if you're not on IRC. You're not on IRC, and you're not on IRC. So yeah, we'll get you guys how they talk to each other. If there's like some troll, see if he's like a main contributor or just some dude or lady, man, whatever. So yeah, use these websites, find a project. If you can't find one, we have some we can suggest, but we encourage you first and foremost to look for one that you have a personal connection with. So,
All right.
Is there anything?
Thank you guys for coming. I was going to end the video.
Thank you.
And of course, as always,